Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of our Wandering Adventures, and yep, it's still raining, so I just thought I'd jump on here quickly and give you a quick tour of the van as it is, some of the things we've done so far, what our next plans are, and then what that finished product's going to be looking like. So I'll just give you a quick little tour out of the van. Basically what we've done is we've stripped all of the roof and the walls and the flooring off. We also had the door that was just there, which was basically the door for the couriers so that they could have a locked area in this back here. So we've removed that. We're not actually going to be putting that back. We pulled this or rolled that floor back just because we found a couple of small leaks, which we're going to investigate a little bit more and silicon up. But the plan for us is this. So we're going to keep this here open. What we'll do is we'll have those seats on a swivel, so they'll actually turn around, and we're probably a little bit lazy when it comes to the finer details. For example, if you see this little ridge here has some fixed components which has basically been used for the door. We're actually going to come out to probably about here and close that off with a little step, because the idea is when you swivel around on the seat, you'll actually be able to put your feet on the step, because somewhere in the middle here we'll actually have a console table that when these do swivel around, we'll actually basically have that table right there. So in the front, I think we probably won't do a lot. Really like this kind of setup here. I don't know that we really want to go any lower, because for me, if you can see, I don't really want that much lower, and there's not a lot I think we need to do here. I mean, some of the episodes, some of the vans we've seen, they put a shelf in here. Now, that could work, but anything I think that cuts off headroom for me, I'll be violently opposed to. In the end, it's actually Talia's van, not mine, so I'm just the hired help. So we'll see about that, but I would say we probably won't. I'd like to think we don't actually close that off. The next thing for us is that from the, the perspective of things going in, if I just come to the back here, what we've decided is that from here, roughly, all right, this is kind of about halfway through back, that will be a bed. We basically worked out we have about 4.3 meters ish from there through to basically about here, which, once you swivel the chair, so we're about 4.3 meters, and we were, from the bed side of things, we were going to go sideways. The problem is that it's only about 175 once you put the walls in, and clearly I'm a little bit taller than that. So what we basically worked out was that if we go lengthways, we'll come out probably about 180, maybe 185. There'll probably be a bit of room on either side, because if we go for, this is going to be probably the next conversation that Talia and I'll have, which will be whether we go for queen or for double. You can get a long double. Double's typically 153, so it's probably going to be a queen, but it might need to be a special, because I think a queen is 183 by 153, and I think you can get a queen. It's also 203, but we don't really need to go any longer than that. We might need to have a specialised mattress, because it'd be nice to have a gap kind of either side of the actual the bed as it goes in. Now, the other thing we're not sure about just yet is how high that's going to be, because we sort of think that the higher we go, when we're, sort of sitting up in bed, I'd like to be able to sit up and not hit my head on the roof. But again, how important is that? Do we just sort of scooch you off and then, turn around and sit on a chair? So that's probably something that we're not yet decided on, because the higher we go, the more room we have underneath. So that's, which way the bed will go. We're just not 100% sure on the height. Now, probably, just looking at the way that it's set up, we'll probably end up having this part here, which will probably be where the rack is, and that probably helps us decide it. But I mean, it could go higher if we want it to be, so that's probably something that we'll decide. I guess if we take a step back, one of the things that we're going to do first is we're going to put the sound deadening in. We've watched a lot of people put the 3-layer setup. So basically what you do is you have the sound deadening components, and they go all the way around, floor, ceiling, roof. Then what you do is you have insulation layer in between, and again we'll work out which way we want to go for that. And then the last part is you put a cap on, which is effectively then sealing the air inside there and keeping it as insulated as you can to make it, you know, warmer in the winter, cooler in the summer, but also as sound deadened as you can. So that's a 3-part thing that we need to basically do for the floor, ceilings and roof, and that will then eat into the amount of available space we have. But we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of like the first thing. Then the second thing is probably the roof, I'd say, just in terms of priority, because we want to obviously cut where we want the extractors to be. There's a couple other things if we are going to put in, you know, if we do decide to go aircon, we can do that later, but we're sort of at this stage deciding not. And also if we come back to the walls, I would really like to see some windows in, so that's going to probably mean wherever we decide, probably the front though, just because then the back becomes private for sleeping. But I'd say at a bare minimum these 2 sides, so that we have the ability to have windows open, fly screens on, just for more ventilation through the van. So I'd say in order of importance, as we're doing the sound deadening, we'll then do those 2 windows at the front. Once that's then done, we do the roof. Once the roof's done, the windows are in, sound deadening's on, then we'll go with a wall covering. At that same time, I think we do the bed first. Once the bed's installed, then we do the wall covering. And then in terms of what we're going to put here, the plan which we saw, which we really, really loved in another van setup, was it's basically a 2-part shower, so not fully enclosed, 2-part here, so that we can, you know, we stand here, we've got the room to do the shower, we've got ventilation above here, so that'll be something else we need to think about, but we don't have this big cubicle that gets cut off, and then what we do is you just have a wraparound curtain. I definitely think we want to have a shower, because it's one thing that I've noticed a lot of people have said, it's kind of like people's space that they can go. Now in this shower can easily be the toilet, and I think that's kind of practically how that will work. So the shower is going to be one of the big, I guess, ticket items. Another part is the bench that will go through here for the balance. And if the bench sits there, what we ideally then is have a swivel around, and they've got a bench there for the person that sits. And then this bench part here will have cooker, it will have underneath it fridge, obviously there'll be a sink, so that will be here. I'm not 100% certain if we'll have the room for that, or if that might end up on the other side, but that's something we'll get to, because the challenge we have is, so this could be the sink side, is that we then have this part here, which, you know, ideally you have the end of the bench just here, and then you have an overlay fold up part that's just here, but that's probably another decision as we have it, you know, either there or, as we said, over here. But wherever it is, the opposite will just have a cupboard for storage, because probably the biggest challenge is we have a whole bunch of stuff that we actually own, and we are going to need to step back to this as our main dwelling. So we've got a lot to sell, but there are a few things we want to take with us. So yeah, we're probably going to have to do a fair bit of downsizing, and there's only so much storage we're going to have under the bed. Because the other thing that I'd really like to do, and I know there's plenty of room underneath the van, is have some water storage. I think it's really important that we have, you know, a minimum of 100 litres, but ideally 200 litres of water storage so that we can feed it to the shower, we can feed it to the kitchen sink, whichever side that goes, and then have drinking water just in case, because I don't want to be in a position where we get stuck. We don't have any water and we've only got a couple of bottles. Like, that just wouldn't be cool. So once that's then done and they're in, then I think, we seal up the floor, finish off the walls, we close out the ceiling, and then ideally we should be done. But that's going to take a fair bit of work. And in our coming videos, you'll see step by step. We're not going to hide, make it perfect. We're just going to kind of roll with it. I mean, we already know there's certain things in here that we didn't plan, like cutting away on, particular parts that were here. We're not spending $100,000 on this fit out by any means. This will be done as cheap as we think appropriate, because we're not massive glampers. We definitely want to be comfortable because this is our primary place of residence, but we want to get it done as quickly as we can so we can actually get on the road. So what you'll see in our coming episodes, and if you've watched so far for this, then thank you so much for watching. If you like what you've seen so far, please hit the like and subscribe. But in our coming episodes, we're going to try to break it down step by step, just so you can see how we've done stuff, mistakes and all. You might be able to pick up on some little things. We know we certainly have. So we've seen a couple of van lifers that have done that really big shower, which worked well for them, but we're not 100% sort of sold on that. We also know that we don't have a lot of space. So even though this is quite big, it fills up pretty quickly, especially if you put, a bed across, just under half of it, couple of sort of bedside, kitchen sides. So coming episodes, you'll see us do that, deck it out step by step. We'd love to take you on the journey. If you have any questions or feedback for us, please leave a comment. I try to get back to as many as we can. Looks like the light's gone out, so I think that's told me that it's time to wrap this up, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.